amazing group here. We have people who are veterans from Iraq, Afghanistan. We have people from, reservation communities. We have people from different states who are here. We have people who are excelling in athletics. We have people who are coming back to school. We have people involved in music festivals. So a lot of students are psychology oriented, but some are also oriented towards education, diversity, community art. So a lot of different things going on.
Hmm, cool.
So I think it's hopeful. And we're also involved with the legislature since we're in the Capitol. Unlike like you all have to drive to Salem, we just go down the hill.
Mhm.
And so we've been involved in some legislative lobby days just to get a sense of how that's working. And I have to tell you, uh, Sharif, there are so many schools bringing just busloads of kids there, and they're testifying that we're afraid to get out of the building because there are all these masked men there waiting for us. A whole big group was there from Seattle, 10 and 11 years old.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, Olympia is, it's a happening place.
Yeah. It's interesting when you understand what's going on from a conceptual basis. It's more interesting when it actually hits home that this is something that's happening to you or to someone that you actually know. I think I do know where we're going. I think I do know how we're getting there right now. And I then therefore have some suggestions for how we, human beings, deal with the times that we're in right now. So,
So
we'll
perfect.
see
So,
how that goes. Yeah.
yeah. So it feels like we should start. So being the change program, could you all turn on your cameras for a moment and just wave at Dr. Abdullah so they're not just looking at faculty staff, that you can see James and Chris and Alana, Sky, Tanisha, Georgia was there and not there. Uh, but we do actually have students here, which is really, really
Very good.
fantastic. And we may have some staff coming as well. And some people are sharing computers. So it's my great honor to invite you back to the Evergreen State College, Dr. Sharif Abdullah from the Commonway Institute, who has been in the long game of social transformation, social change, has been a catalyst for transformation across the country and in many countries, and is definitely on the leading edge of change. So in this program, we're working with a season for nonviolence, which, as I've mentioned to the students, is very close to me personally with my own background of parents being in Delhi during Gandhi's assassination and Memphis during Dr. King's assassination. So I have this interesting footprint with that historically. But I know you've taken on the season for nonviolence and a global platform and are sharing it with thousands of people across the world. So we're honored to have you here to share with us some of your thoughts about certainly about the season for nonviolence, but also about this moment of time and perspectives you might offer the change makers that are in this class, who have so much potential, so much ability for how to navigate things that seem kind of stuck
Right.
and not the way most of us want to see it. So welcome. So glad to have you back here.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank all of you for showing up. And I'm looking forward to spending some quality time with you. Um, I was I was told that there were people who had done service in Afghanistan and Iraq, and that they were combat medics. And the first thing I did was called up my youngest daughter, who was a combat medic in Afghanistan, and said, "Are you coming to this class?" So a different combat medic. Um, and that's a whole story that we can talk about at some point in time. How um, the daughter of a peace activist becomes a combat medic in Afghanistan. Um, how I started my trajectory toward where I am right now, the seat that I sit in right now, was from a very different direction. Um, my focus was my when Mukti said that I was I'm on the long game. This game started a long time ago. When I was 11 years old in Camden, New Jersey, the worst city in America. We're number one. Everybody else is trying to catch up to us. Um, and uh, at 11 years old, I led my first demonstration for better housing in Camden. And I was one of the youth founders of an organization called the Black People's Unity Movement. And we had called a demonstration, and we were walking down Haddon Avenue heading for the city hall. And the leaders had a bullhorn, and they were talking into the bullhorn, and people were coming out and seeing what the commotion was all about. And at some point in time, somebody handed me the bullhorn, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And they said, that button right there, you push it and then you talk into it. So say something. And it's my first public exposure. And I pushed a button and I started talking into it. And people came to the door. And as I continued to talk, they got into the line and continued the march with us. And that was my first exposure to the power of words. That was my first exposure to the power of dedication, the power of being um, passionate about something that would affect more than me. I wasn't in the march to say, I want better housing. I was in the march to say, we deserve better housing. And so our challenge is, how do we elevate our consciousness from I want this. This is my world here to how do we act for ourselves, for others, and who those others are. I've elevated that over the course of the last several decades from Black people in an impoverished state, in an impoverished town, um, to all people, to all beings, all consciousnesses, and the one consciousness which we are all part of. How do we begin the process of actually acting like what it is that we say we believe, that we believe in humanity and we believe in the planet that we live on. So that's the and kind of an overview of me. Um, in terms of the whole notion of peace activity, of nonviolence, I can easily say I was late to the party. I believed for the longest time that um, violence was a tool for social change. That if you really wanted social change, you got something and blew somebody's brains out, and then they stopped believing what they were believing, and that would make you win. And that is an amazingly naive way of looking at the world. But it's one that still exists in our world. I can remember when Dr. King was assassinated. I can remember what I said, and although I was still young at the time. People, this made the news. I said that that's what he deserved. And that's because if you're going to go up against the system, you better have a gun in your hands. And I believed that at the time. And it took me another 10 years of looking and searching and seeing the recognized. I saw nonviolence as a position of weakness. I saw nonviolence as a position of you don't have the strength to stand up to uh, at the time I was calling it the white power structure. And I realized that holding a weapon is a sign of weakness. That the thing that makes changes in our society is right here. My weapon is my heart. And my targeted, directed, focused love is the thing that makes the change in the world. It can make the change in some of the meta examples of the world, but it also can make the change in very, very limited and sometimes just one-on-one situations. And I can give you limited one-on-one situations from literally around the world. I've been to 35 different countries. I've worked in most of them. I don't do vacations. I seems like a waste of time to me. I go places to learn things. And I've been to every continent that has people on it. Um, can't figure out what to do with penguins, so that I leave them alone. And I've been to several different cultures in every country I've been to. So a lot of people will go to a country, but they go straight to their own culture. Um, they don't ever experience the other country. Um, so, for example, President Trump says he's been to 30 or 40 different countries, but he gets in a sheltered, air-conditioned limousine and he goes straight to a golf course. And how interactive has he been? How much of the culture has he experienced? Well, we have an answer for that, zero. And experiencing zero culture allows you to act in ways that are not connected to culture or planet. Um, I can keep going like this for about the next hour, so I'm not. Let me share with you some thoughts and images to give you a little tiny bit of background behind what Commonway is doing. Commonway Institute, which is what I created some years ago, some decades ago. Why do we need a world for all? It works pretty well for Elon Musk and a few other people. So why do we need a world for all? If you really need an answer for that, you probably are in the wrong classroom. But I'm going to give you a bit of an overview. We face moral challenges. And a lot of times we talk about politics and a lot of times we talk about ecology. But I think that we need to start calling this what it is, and that is it's a moral question. Um, it's not a religious question. Um, this guy is Václav Havel, He is standing in front of over 1 million people in Wenceslas Square in Prague. And he had just freshly out of prison and went and was made the president of the country. Um, this is when I met with him, and uh, we started talking about um, the things I'll be talking to you about. So the moral challenges are we're destroying our planet, we're placing profits above people, and even saying placing anything above human beings and life on our planet is a bad idea. Okay. And we need to call it what it is. It's not just a you should do things differently. It's that how dare you? This is a moral imperative for us. We've got the largest military that has ever existed on the planet Earth. It is larger than the next 10 combined. And we keep making it larger because we're insecure and we're afraid. The issue is not to build yet the next aircraft carrier, yet the next jet fighter. The issue is that we need to learn how to be secure and how to act in the world unafraid, how to stop projecting ourselves onto others, how to actually act like a mature civilization on a living planet. Our behavior is suicidal. We know we're up against the wall. And let me say this again. Y'all know we're up against the wall. You are up against the wall more than me because I've been standing at that wall for a while now. Um, it might be time for me to retire. Um, and for me, retirement is going to be death. I'll keep doing this until somebody comes in and finds me laying on the floor face down and says, "Oh, looks like Shariff just retired." So, but y'all have to look at and deal with circumstances that we have not uh, ever had to face as a human family. Um, I've been doing a lot of work with a lot of different people around the world, and that includes a lot of people that you call indigenous people. I prefer to use the term keepers. These are the ones that keep our sacred wisdom, and we treat them like dirt. And both the keepers as people and as representatives of Mother Earth, I've been saying for the longest time that we are going to be experiencing something that we've never experienced before. Mother Earth is going to be coming into balance. And when she comes into balance, um, things are going to be things in the breaker reality, the reality of the society that we live in right now, are going to be disrupted. This is not punishment. It's just that things have been out of balance for a while, and she's going to come into balance. They say over the next 2 to 5 years. And when it comes into balance, the question is going to be, where are you going to be in that balance? And that's a conversation y'all should be having with each other right now, because you are exactly one solar flare away from the complete destruction of your society. You've painted yourselves in a corner. You are absolutely reliant on electricity, and that electricity can go off anywhere from 8 minutes from now. There could be a solar flare that happens right now. 8 minutes from now, that's the end of your society, and you're going to have to do something else. and let's figure out what we do now. Um, and that's not the only thing that we could be facing. Um, in my book, Creating a World That Works for All, I look at 50 or so different challenges that we're facing. Um, the list is on page 37 if you're interested. Holes in the ozone layer, political corruption, homelessness, emotional stress, destruction of cultures, children as combatants in warfare, suicide, weapons of mass destruction, AIDS, ethnic unrest and conflict, civil wars, genocide, militarization of outer space, unsustainability in absolutely every aspect of your lives, mental disorders in children, blah, 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 blah. It keeps on going. Now, this list isn't there for you to be like, okay, let's take holes in the ozone layer and let's fix that. And then we'll work on political corruption. And then we'll work on no, this is not 50 different things that you have to work on. This is one problem. That problem is consciousness. These things don't happen by themselves. These things don't happen because, um, you know, a volcano erupted and gave us holes in the ozone layer. No, we created all this. If you're in denial that we created all this, that's okay. Doesn't mean you didn't create it, and doesn't mean that you are exempt from dealing with the consequences of it. This is something that I think is very important. I don't argue with people anymore. Used to when I was younger, but you think that, that trees are putting out the carbon that's in our atmosphere. Okay. We'll know what will happen to you, and we'll know that when that happens, you won't be able to deal with it because you don't know what caused it. Um, so our challenge is this mess is a product or a function of a society that's out of balance. It's not an accident. It's not an oversight. It's not something you're going to be able to do some legislation and change any of those aspects in the mess. The mess is how the economic, political, social, and cultural systems work. When you look at how our political candidates on all sides talk about our problems, they don't talk about the mess. They can't reform it. They try to manage it, just like health systems try to manage health. They don't try to bring it about. We have to transcend that situation. Uh, um, because y'all are such good friends now, I have to tell you a personal issue. Um, I have beard envy, and if I could grow that, I'd have it down to my belly button. This is as long as it grows. I'll need therapy one of these days. Um, so this is Leo Tolstoy. Tolstoy. He said, "I sit on a man's back, choking him and making him carry me, and yet assure myself and others that I am very sorry for him, and I wish to ease his lot by any means possible, except getting off his back." So right now, we are on the back of the world. Uh, Not just we humans, but we in this society. Um, and um, we do this because we think we benefit from the problems. We think that we are immune to the problems. We think that we can off-put the problems to someone else. And you've been seeing the protests that have been going around. Many of you may be involving yourself in some of the protests. I have been counseling the folks that are in my organization not to. Um, the situation that we're in is outrageous. It is morally bankrupt. We have to make change, but protesting is not going to make that change. Protesting is not going to create the world that works for all. Um, the best that protests can do is make some temporary changes. Um, the targets of the protests build antibody responses to the protesters. In fact, our entire administration right now is an antibody response to um, a swinging pendulum that swings in one direction and then swings into another. We need to stop that swing. Our job is to stop the swing, not say, let's get the pendulum back on our side and then nail it shut. It's like, no, that um, you can try that. It's not going to work. Um, Protests can make those protested seem more powerful than they are. I say to folks, whenever you are protesting, not doing what Gandhi did, not doing what King did, but not doing what Havel did, but actually just going out to say, stop so and so, stop so and so, stop so and so. You can give your power to the people that you don't want to have your power. Um, what King did at his best, what Gandhi did at his best, was vision implementation, not protest. The Salt March was basically saying, I believe that we have the right as human beings to make salt, which is a um, absolutely essential for life. And then he went and did it. King said, I believe I can sit at the Woolworths counter and drink Coke and have a hot dog. And then they did it. What they did in doing that was changed consciousness. And they demonstrated the direction of the change. If you want to read Václav Havel's book, Living in Truth, the blueprint for the Velvet Revolution being freeing themselves from the Soviet Union, the second largest superpower on Earth, without firing a single shot. That is the power of what we call nonviolence. Um, Gandhi had the same power. King had the same power. Nelson Mandela had the same power. So using that power in such a way that that the process changes so dramatically, it disappears. When Václav Havel wrote Living in Truth, he said, if we do this, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is the right thing to do. Well, what happened is that the entire Soviet Union disappeared overnight. It disappeared so fast that the Soviet Union sent astronauts up around to float around the Earth for a while. And when they came down, they came back down in a different country. The country they sent them up there didn't exist anymore. And so our ability to take the energy of protest and take it down in here into your heart and come up with something that is more powerful than protest. That's our challenge. And I'm going to uh, I watch a lot of movies. Um, and One of the movies that I watched is one that you may have seen some years ago called LA Confidential. And if you didn't see it, you should. It's a good movie. You should see it. If you don't like violent, bloody movies, you should not see that. And But one of the characters was busy trying to kill one of the other characters. And the character is getting the slop beat out of him, kept saying to the beater, "Stop and think. Who wants you to kill me? There's somebody behind all this." And the guy eventually slowed down and stopped and thought about it and said, "Yeah, there's somebody that's out for both of us." Okay. Now, we have to, in the face of the outrageousness that's going on in our society, we have to say, okay, stop, think. Who wants us at each other's throats? Who wants us to be against our government? Who wants us to be um, uh, looking at the world a different way? So this is from my book, Creating a World That Works for All. Um, this book came out, I guess, about 30 years ago. Um, it is one of my foundational books, the other one being Birthing the Nation of Gaia. This actually won the Book of the Year award on the year that it came out. Um, and holds the essence of the Commonway philosophy in it. Um, so, and it says humanity faces destruction, and we face destruction by our own story. We are destroying ourselves from within. And I'm going to tell you about story in about over in a minute. Um, and the way I do that is the story of Rabbit Island. And Rabbit Island is not called that. It's really Kerguelen Island, which is in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Captain Cook, and doing his circumnavigation of the Earth, came to Kerguelen Island. It's about the size of Connecticut, covered in grass, and just thought that there would be this would be a nice little way station for people to come and be nice for them to get some fresh food there. So he released a few rabbits onto the island, um, thinking that they could eat rabbits when the next crew came by. A few years later, the next crew came by and they found no rabbits and not one blade of grass because the rabbits followed their story. And this rabbit story is maximum food, maximum sex, look out for predators. They have no ability to fight back from the predators. The only thing they can do is outproduce them. They can produce more rabbits than a predator can eat. So they get to Rabbit Island and no predators, none whatsoever. So they said, okay, let's do the other two then. And they did it. They overpopulated the island. They did overshoot and dieback, which is a biological term you should look up. It's not pretty. And they all died, but they all died because of their story. what we have to do is change the story. Why do we keep making more aircraft carriers when we've got more than enough right now? Because that's our story. Why does a person like an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos want more money? It is impossible to spend the amount of money that they've got right now. All they do is throw it on more out on other things to make more money and make more money. Why do they do it? It's their story. We need another story, and we're the ones that come up with that story. Um, so my last book so far is Birthing the Nation of Gaia. And this is heading us toward where we need to be. The awakening of planetary consciousness. It's time for us to act like we are a mature species and not act the way we've been killing each other for the last 12,000 years or so. I think it's time for us to stop doing that and to actually live on this planet as though we intend to stick for a while. We're pregnant right now, but what would happen if you were pregnant and you didn't know what pregnancy was? You had no idea. Um, Two stories. I'm only going to tell you one, and then I'm going to actually shut up. Um, and this is the story about the Ugandan mother. She was married, got pregnant. She did all the go to the hospital, get checked out. Time for her to deliver her baby. She does the yelling, screaming, all the yucky stuff. And if you haven't ever delivered your own baby, there's a lot of yucky stuff involved. And then out pops the baby, and they rinse it off, wrap it in a blanket, send her home. Um, a week later, she has incredible stomach pains. Husband rushes her back to the hospital. She's yelling and screaming. The first thing they ask her when she comes in the hospital is, "Are you pregnant?" And she says, "I just had a baby last week." So they prepare her for emergency surgery. And while they're about to cut her open, out pops another baby. She is one of the very few women who have two wombs. Her husband got her pregnant in both of them a week apart, and she has her second baby. And they're not twins. And they came close to killing her because they had no idea what pregnancy is. We are pregnant right now with the new society, or with a planetary society. We get to bring that about right now. And when I mean right now, I mean this is what I'm working on right now. This is what all of us should be working on right now. And we will be living in the creative tension of that for the next 20 or 30, 20 to 40 years, or we won't. And that's going to be pretty much your legacy and your focus. I will stay on the line as long as there's some folks who want me to be on the line. Um, and see where we carry this conversation.
Yes, so scholars and colleagues think through, I think, as you can see, Dr. Abdullah is a deep thinking and very open-minded person. So I think you can ask anything. You might agree with his worldview, you may have a different perspective. But I just want to ask how you got connected to the season for nonviolence and put all the effort you're putting into promoting it day by day for these 64 days for some years now.
I was once I woke up, like I said, from my stupor of violence, I began to recognize the importance of nonviolence. I really backed into it. I didn't I wasn't I didn't go out and embrace it wholeheartedly. It's like, no, this is the only thing that's going to work. And so as I went in that direction, I began to associate with more of the people um, who had a handle on nonviolence. So I met Arun Gandhi, I met Michael Beckwith, I met some of the other folks who have been instrumental in the founding of the Season for Nonviolence. And the first couple of years, I was a participant in other people's actions. And number one, my first thought was, I got an organization, we can do something. And then the second thought was, well, what would we do that would be um, additive, that would be not distracting from what the other efforts are, but would add to those other efforts. And the thing that I wanted to do was to look at the real change agents in the world, the people who have um, actually changed human society. What I call my lineage, starting, well, if you can start way, way back with Buddha and Jesus, etc. But in more recent times, looking at Gandhi, King, um, Havel, Mandela, uh, as characters that you would that I consider my people I want to emulate, people that I would like to act like, given the cast of characters that's being promulgated, that's being pushed out into the limelight not right now by the Epstein files. We need some of them. We need the kinds of people um, who hold um, that energy, not just talking about it. Anybody can talk, but actually living that way. When I think about when I think about the long game, okay, I'm not. I think about um, Nelson Mandela. I don't know how sane I could make it through what he went through of nearly 3 decades in solitary confinement and comes out smiling. You know, what he should have said was, "Is that all you got?"
I agree. I saw him in Memphis in 2000 when I first started working here. I still had family alive there, and he was radiant. It was remarkable. He was not bitter. He was just radiating possibility. So it can be done.
Um, I,
Uh,
a quick Mandela story. Um, um, he was when he became president, he would go out to regular restaurants and eat like he's a regular guy. And at one point, oh, and he had of course bodyguards around him. So he asked one of his bodyguards to go over to a particular man, white guy, sitting at a table, and asked him to come over to eat with him. And the white guy came over, and they looked at each other and nodded, but they didn't speak. And he uh, you could tell that he was very nervous. But you sit down eating lunch with the president of the country. You might be nervous. So he finished and again nodded and walked away. And his bodyguards asked him, like, well, what was that about? And he said that that was one of the guards that was guarding me on Robben Island. And he said at that time they were both starving him and dehydrating him, not even allowing him to have water, and constantly beating him. And they just finished a beating session, and he asked that man he just said, I just need a glass of water. And the guy urinated on him. And um, I can only imagine what was going through the guard's head while he's sitting down eating a really nice meal with the guy that begged him for water and gave that kind of response. How um, clear you have to be able to do that, to be able to sit down and well, not have your bodyguards take the guy in the back room and beat the crap out of him, then pee on him. Okay. Um, and I guess maybe I don't, maybe I'm not far enough away from Camden because I'm thinking about that. So the challenge is how can you show up not in anger, not in frustration, not in limited thinking? How can you just show up and be present? Um, and have your presence be the change. You're talking about being the change. Have your presence be the change. That's our challenge.
Thank you so much. I'd like to open up to any of you who have any questions. You can either unmute there, you can come up here and just talk from this computer, but I think you see Dr. Abdullah is very open to anything you might like to bring forward. And uh, anyone, any comment, question?
I'm going to do something also. Um, I'm not as bad as Putin, but I can go for a long, long time on one question. So I'm setting a timer. I'm going to try to answer each question in under 4 minutes. Okay. This allows there to be some flow here.
Yeah.
Putin in a press conference, the first person to ask him a question is generally the last. So he just kind of goes on and on.
If you were in the Senate, you could be filibustering the Senate floor, holding it
Indeed.
down with Senator Booker and all the rest of them. Hakeem Jeffries, the filibuster. Anyway, anyone a question, comment about anything this has stirred for you, anything you're curious about?
I
Here,
thought you're going to feel the hands, I hope. Yeah.
yeah, so Philip, Alana, I didn't see all of them, but let's start with those two, and then we'll see what's next. Philip, please, why don't you come up here? Because this, then your head is in the black and so forth. Black rooms. We're in a rehearsal space, which is interesting. And tell Dr. Abdullah who you are.
Hi, my name is Philip. I'm a student. I'm a senior here at the college.
And he's taller than me, so I'm
Isn't everybody?
Everyone's taller than Dr. K. Yeah.
And I've done a lot of studies around political science and sociology and work around food and home systems. And I guess I hear what you're saying. It's just really hard for me personally to, not take some of these things I see personal, not want to have, person v person conversations that might lead to conflict because to me, um, every intervention I don't make is a person who suffers for it. And so I guess I want to understand how did you get over that thinking trap? Because I feel like I must intervene in every wrong, hop into every system that's broken, that's not taking care of people. Um, and I don't know, I guess that sort of yoke isn't common. And I have a lot of resentment for people who don't take their role in civics and society seriously. Um, I don't know. That's not really a question. That's more just kind of like a, you know, ramble. But how do you get past that?
Um, Starting my timer. Um, I would be let me give you a story. Oh, and by the way, I would suggest not doing the if I can see your image here, getting walking up just to see your image with somebody else's name under you isn't particularly helpful. Okay.
So we'll have students stay where they are.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thanks
Um,
for that.
and I'm going to give myself to start my timer again. Um, I was called in to a city in the Pacific Northwest because they had a work crew that was experiencing pretty blatant racism, pretty blatant sexism. Um, they were going to fire the entire work crew. Um, they called me in and how do oh and the work crew was both adamant and belligerent and didn't want to hear from me. Um, um, in 4 hours, they went from we did nothing wrong to we understand the problem we created. We won't do that ever again. Shariff gave us a whole new set of responses that we can do in various situations, and we're committing to do those responses. So the question is, how do you go from absolute hostility to absolute oh, shifting behaviors that have lasted? I check in with this city fairly frequently, and these folks have just become model citizens. So, how do you do that? And if you're not doing that, I would say that that's what an intervention looks like. That's how you change the behavior. So you're not there just to like rescue someone. You're there to shift that behavior to a world that works for all living beings. And you can do that by understanding the trauma that goes all around. When people are acting less than stellar behavior, they're in trauma. The president of the United States is in trauma. There is some things that are deeply lacking in here. Um, and they can, there's something that they should call me in for an intervention. Um, and you see apparent power over people, and you want to do something about it, but you really want, and I'm going to urge you to be effective. And the man who was killed in Minneapolis, Pretty, at one point in time, he was breaking out the tail lights of one of the ICE vehicles. Now, ask yourself, what would breaking their tail light, how would that change the dynamic that's going on there? And the answer is it won't, not at all. What that will be is an exercise or kind of uh, off-putting frustration. You know, I've put bricks through windows. Okay. Now, it feels great when you do that. You get the right window, like, hey, I'm doing something, and you're not. And if your goal is to go out and feel good about yourself, then okay, put some brick through some windows. Um, uh, get a gun and start shooting people. That doesn't change anything. The change is going to take place first in your heart. So, and it's going to take place so um, fundamentally that you'll be able to go to um, anywhere, and you will be able to make that change. So, sitting in a room, oh shoot, okay, that was 5 minutes. Stop. Hmm.
This is a really simple question, but I guess because you've done this like work for so long, like what has surprised you most in the work you've done over the years?
Surprise.
See you.
Yeah.
Surprised.
Yeah.
I guess the one, let me start. The one thing that I had to get adjusted to was the issue of power and apparent power. I wound up face to face with people who were powerful people, presidents, military leaders. When you go in the middle of the war in Sri Lanka between the government and the Tamil Tigers, I met with the Tigers and I also met with the government folks. And I'm the only one anywhere around that's not carrying a gun. You know, I felt naked. And I realized that that is just the image or the illusion of power. It's not real power. You have to be able to look beyond that. So a lot of the when I'm dealing with police in this country, a lot of them will wear these the wraparound shades that hide their eyes. Okay. And I've trained myself to look beyond them. So you look in at the shades, you're looking at your own reflection. Then you look 1 inch in. Okay, like you focus 1 inch inside they start freaking out. Okay, because you've pierced their screen.
Mm.
And and again, you're not doing that from a negative point of view. It's like, hey, how's it going in there? And you get a very, very different kind of reaction. Um, and I would see if there's anything else that actually surprise. Well, one of the issues is how easy the problems are. Once you stop accepting the point of view of any of the antagonists, You start from a point of view of, and I always say this to folks, and when I'm in Sri Lanka, creating an island that works for all. And all doesn't mean all people, it just means all living beings. When I'm doing the work in New Zealand, is creating another island that works for all. Um, and if I were working in uh, Minnesota, I'd be saying, like, working in a state or a city that works for all. Now, the second part of that is, who doesn't want that? So once you establish that as the baseline, this is going to work for everybody, all beings. Then the second part is, who doesn't want that? And that list becomes very surprising. There are lots and lots of people who say, I want peace, I want love, I want this, I want that. And it's like, oh, but I don't want those folks to win. I don't want things to be good for them. I want them to be punished because they hurt me, they did such and such a thing, etc. And no, all means all. And that is called 4 minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Uh, Thank you so much for your generous time. We have Jake coming up here, and we're going to move this up, and then maybe we'll wrap up. So just move this to the height you need it.
That's good.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Jake Daly. I'm one of the combat medics in the class. Say hi to your daughter. And I my question is about how you went from the attitude of violence to nonviolence. Being a combat medic, and being a white man. I grew up in Idaho. I was a Christian nationalist. I bought that propaganda hook, line, and sinker. And I deconstructed in the forest. But I'm still I'm angry at injustice. I suffered moral injury, right? Being lied to, believing the lie, the moral injury that comes with that. I'm mad, and not just for me anymore, right? I see the injustice of minorities. I see the injustice for women. I see pedophiles running our government, and I think guillotines are could be a repeated solution. But I know that we can't do that, and we are in the season of nonviolence. So I'm curious how you went from one perspective to the next. Thank you.
I'm not sure whether I should say thank you to you or not. Sort of thank you. We may need 2 4-minute slots for that one. Let's get started. Um, First of all, I've never killed anybody, but it wasn't from a lack of trying. So I was that serious about bringing about change through violence. Violence has two levels to it. And Jake, I think that you hit both of them. One of them is seeing the injustice in the world. And if you're paying any level of attention, you're seeing that. You can experience that on the one hand. On the other hand, it is easy to feel impotent, to feel empty, to feel weak in the face of that. We live in a society. I used to say this coming up in Camden with the Black Power perspective. of that white society emasculates Black identity, emasculates Black men. And that's true. It also emasculates white men. It also emasculates, Asian men. It also, what is the equivalent of emasculate for women? What would the word be?
So someone said defeminize.
Now, no, emasculate is a lot stronger than that. It would be the violent defeminization, or the violent robbing one of one's power and energy. And this being done to women all the time. And we do that to everybody. Then you pit each of these groups against each other, have them go after each other, and then somebody sitting on the back and sitting in the back, counting their money and laughing. Now, even they're caught up in it. They don't understand how that's actually affecting them. That's why. So if you actually look at President Trump, he is a pathetic character. He's an empty figure. He doesn't know where his power comes from. And all the rest of them that think that they have power. So let me now stop my clock and reset it for another 4 minutes, because I do want to talk about how I got past that point, past my point of violence. And Jake, you can do the same thing. I'm going to invite all of you to my meditation in you can start with Thursday mornings, and I'm going to get a link for you. 7 a.m. Pacific time. And what we do is start changing our consciousness. Start the process of actually changing our consciousness from I am separate, I am one, to we are all life, which means that you've got trillions and trillions of allies, which means we can all start moving in moving together in a direction, and that moving together can be and will be powerful. So I guess I was 30 when I made a pilgrimage, a personal pilgrimage to Atlanta, Georgia, to the tomb of Martin Luther King. And while there, I made my pledge of nonviolence, and I asked for forgiveness for the things that I said about those who had been practicing nonviolence way before me. And I started looking at that point for the solution. And the solution is a new society. To create a society that's dedicated to some principles, and to not get caught up in the immediacy of the frustrating elements that are going on. One of the things I say to my folks is stop paying attention to the news. Just stop. Now, I don't mean cold turkey. First 20 minutes that I wake up in the morning, I do a check. I look at headlines around the country, around the world. Um, but I don't do any more than that. I do not look at moving images in the news. It goes into your head a different way, and you don't want it in your head. I don't spend the hours and hours on NPR, getting somebody's opinion about what's going on. I spend that time working on the solution. The solutions I wrote into Birthing the Nation of Gaia. It's here. If It's amazing how I'll say that to someone and I'll say, the solutions are really obvious. They're right in front of you. It's just that they don't get talked about. Um, Václav Havel wrote Living in Truth over 30 years ago. I thought that at this time, I'm serious, I thought at this time there would be entire courses uh, at colleges dedicated to examining living in truth and how to implement that in our world. Anytime it's there, we can do it, we should do it, and at some point in time we will. And that was the longest 4 minutes. Uh, Obviously, I can keep going, but I won't. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I'm going to be doing a workshop around all this stuff in the near future, like probably March. And I'm going to invite you to attend, give you an extra special student discount here, and see if we can get on the same page here.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing just a brief bit of your many years in this. And also, it was a process that where you are now, it's not where you started. And I'm sure where any of us will be in 10 years is different than where we are now.
Oh,
But I do think it's
2
something
years.
about common commonality. So if folks just want to type in the chat, just anything that how this has supported your learning, that might be easier than unmuting. That if everyone could just type a little phrase of how this has supported your learning, that would be nice for Dr. Shariff to hear a little bit of a give back, which is one of our evergreen traditions of how has this supported your learning, opening to possibilities, modeling a change. I still have questions. Whatever it is, just type it in the chat.
And while you're typing, let me say that this process helps me. I am uh, it's one thing to be sitting in an ivory tower somewhere, um, you know, reading books or writing books. It's something else to be like where people are, where the rubber meets the road, where Jake has been and Jake is now, um, to really do this in a connected way. And so I'm honored, grateful. Hopefully, I can be of some help at some point in time. As I was talking to folks this morning, I said, I had like 45 minutes. It takes me that long to clear my throat. But I'm glad that we were able to uh, get ourselves connected here and look forward to doing that again.
Thank you so much. And I'll just read a few of the essence of what people have said. I appreciate your point about apparent power versus power. I had some things to think about regarding how I show up in tough civic social spaces, reaffirms my nonviolent mind. I'm able to look at different systems through a new lens. Vision implementation versus protest is interesting to think about. I have food for my brain. Lead with love and an open heart requires mountains of patience. Junk information is just as harmful as junk food. I made a necessary shift to have a deep desire to keep my heart and mind open to committing to nonviolence and remember how we're connected and to look for that in others. Thank you for living the values that are needed for changing society for the future. So that's just a few, and I'm sure some other people are still implementing, and someone else supporting my learning, affirming that the current path I'm on is the right one. So I think you've planted many seeds. You've been super generous with your time. We really thank you for that. And so you have the invitation to the Thursday morning meditation. I think a lot of people are showing up from there all over different countries and everything. So that could be an interesting thing to join if anyone wakes up early. And there'll be other events that I will keep you posted about. So we wish you the very best in your continuing work, and thanks for being in it for the long game. We so appreciate it.
Thank you, and look forward to connecting with you all at some other point in time. Thank you. Bye. See you.